Welcome to the show, Sports and Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max. Jalen N'Gonda joins me here. Come Around and Love Me, his new album available on all platforms now. Congratulations on the release, man. Welcome to the show. How's everything going?
Everything's going. Everything's going. Just on tour right now. So just got to Detroit, and now yeah, here now.
How does it feel to be in Detroit? Because I know you grew up with so much influence, especially in the
Oh, it feels
Motown.
good. It feels good. It feels like a pilgrimage every time. Well, it's my second time in Detroit, and I'm very enamored to be here. So it's a good feeling.
Oh, 100%, man. And just you're just a generational talent from what I heard. As soon as I checked out the records that came out, because my favorite is Lost on the new album. That's my
Okay.
favorite song personally. And just when I checked out the record, I said, this is a once in a generational talent. And you see people complimenting you and saying it reminds you of what's going on, Marvin Gaye and Sam Cooke. What does it mean to you when you get those comparisons to iconic artists like those that I mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that much, to be honest. I mean, it means more when someone's, I really like your songs. I think being compared to another artist someone says like, oh, I can hear the Marvin Gaye or I can hear this in the influence, and I say thank you. But when people compare, it's like there's nothing I can do. I'm just someone it's like the comparing I think it's more to you ask the person, the comparer, rather than the comparee, because I'll just keep doing me and admiring them and just embracing my music, and you know, but I don't really feel any type of way, it just gets thrown at me and I'm just like, oh, thanks. It's never my intentions. I'm not trying to live my life as the new second Marvin Gaye or Chris, whatever, I just want to be me. But uh when you put a "What's Going On" beat on any song, they're gonna be like, oh, that's Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good feeling. It makes people remind people of the greats, and it's a good feeling to be thought of that way as someone who writes songs that deep.
Exactly, man. And it's just amazing learning about your history and going out to Liverpool and finding yourself on a journey. But before we get into that, because it was your father's record collection, he had this big soul, Motown, hip hop, classical music collection. What drew you to the 60s era out of every genre of music? What is it about the
Yeah.
60s that always appealed to you?
I just liked it the most. It's the only music that really made me feel the way I feel now when listen to music from that time. That's the only thing. I didn't set myself out to only listen to 60s music. I hear it. I've grew up, my dad is not really a big soul guy. He's more of a hip hop guy. And he to be honest, he doesn't have a record collection. He has a CD collection because you know, it was the 80s by the time he was in his 20s. He bought CDs and tape. He had a tape collection too. Um, but it got interpreted as a record collection years ago. So ever since, people have been thinking I got my dad's a record collector. He's not. But um, anyway, it's not the point. 60s brought me. I mean, it's just the music so happened to be out in the 60s, So I just like those songs. I like other stuff too, like music from the 70s, some 80s, some I like all music. Like I just like 60s the most. But it just drew me because it was like, my dad, mom, brothers, whatever, they listen to hip hop. And I'll be in the car just bobbing my head, and I'll be like, okay, the song. But I just considered myself a non-music person. I was like, I don't listen to music. I just kind of like get video games. Then when I heard music from the 90s, every time I hear something that's older, it just does something to me. And I don't think because it's grainy and all that stuff. It's just the type of songs. I just like those kind of songs. Like if you wrote, like if you took My Girl and put the song in a different format, or I don't know. But I just like the songs. I like the music. I like the writers. I like the sounds of the guitars and the bells and all that stuff. And it's unexplained. It's like trying to describe why do you like being high on weed. It's just like, it just feels good when I hear it.
No, and you dominated, man, just by listening to music and then people in the comments. And people even said it from your music video aesthetic. They said this is what YouTube would have been like in the 60s. So just to see that you're dominating that era, man, it's big time. Why do you think there's been such like a void for artists? Because you really are the one bringing it back and doing what you love. And this is what makes you feel good. Why do you think there's been such a void to carry on from the artists that it came from the 60s and that sound aesthetic?
Well, to be honest, I'm not the only one doing music from this thing. I mean, there's many artists. There's the Sacred Souls. There's the Lady Ray, there's, but at the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of musicians writing songs, and they just get produced in a certain way, and um, I think if anything, like us human beings are gonna just evolve. We're gonna discover new genres, and it's not like we don't. I think people think of soul music as like this music that's been long buried and never heard before. No, soul music's always been around. It's just when you listen to like your top 100 radio, you're not gonna hear it that much because it's not, and we're not in that time anymore. Right now the popular music is hip hop and R&B, like modern R&B, and that's just the world we live in. So when you get someone that does something that's not in the sort of uh by the books, it's unorthodox for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, they're all just a bunch of songs, and they're just different styles. I think if people change the tune of old, like forgotten music to like, this is another avenue of writing an R&B song, you know but I don't try to see myself as the leading for. I'm just someone who's just writing songs, and I just like to express my music and my art, and it makes me happy, the kind of songs I write.
Mhm. It's been a long time coming because people have been following you on your journey since going out to Liverpool, being from the DC area,
Yeah,
and just learning about when during class time you'd be writing lyrics down in your notebook from the Temptations. And
yeah, of course. Oh yeah, I used to do that back in middle school, high school. I mean, of course, when I had time, I would go home and try to finish it. Yeah, I did that because I'd rather do that than try to figure out this equation.
no,
You
yeah,
know
that's boring. Yeah, you're always gonna find what your true passion is. Forget those
exactly,
equations.
exactly.
With violin, you had to learn eventually, especially with the guitar. It came natural just playing by ear, but you had the opportunity to learn how to read the music. That's how you know you're naturally gifted. Is just when you're just playing it by ear. That's insane to me
Thank
as someone who's just a journalist. I'm not a musician. Just hearing about it is, yeah, that's wild.
thank you so much.
Of
Hmm.
course, Liverpool, because you had the opportunity. You thought about going to New York and to Los Angeles. Was it like the Jimi Hendrix story, and especially your other influences with the
No.
Beach Boys and the Beatles, and going out to the Liverpool and trying something different?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make any decision because someone else did the decision. I made a decision because it was best for me. And of course, like, I think the whole Jimi Hendrix thing is, it's very encouraging, and it's like, well, Jimmy did it, and it's an encouraging thing, but that's not the reason why I chose to go there. I chose because that was the best place for me to develop as a musician, I thought. And that was thought at the time, so it was just the best fit. And I'm pretty sure there would have been a better school, but that school didn't. That school came too late. It's like one of those things, like there's always something better. But I chose to go to Liverpool because the school's in Liverpool, and I went to go
The
to the
performing
school,
arts.
performing arts school, and it's just, I wanted to be somewhere where I felt, it just felt like a cool place to be. I didn't. It wasn't a grand scheme. It's just like, at the time, I saw it as like, some people go outside to school to study, some people go in the country to study, and I was like, I think I'm one of those people that might go abroad to study. Um, and I just so happened to go abroad to study.
You mentioned just going out there to develop your music. What did you develop personally out
I
there?
developed
Because
my confidence.
you draw from everyday influences in your music. So what did you develop as a musician while in the
I
performing arts
just,
out there?
I just, yeah, I developed a confidence in my playing. I was not confident for a long time when I was a teenager. Like most teenagers are not confident in anything, you know. But I did develop a style. I developed a songwriting style. I developed, a certain, yeah. I mean, I was listening to other bands from that time period, and I was developing something, but I never intended to develop. I was just living as a musician, and you write songs, and the song, people like it, you start performing it, and then you write another song, and it's like. But I think Liverpool definitely helped me develop definitely my on stage persona, which is the same as my off stage, but just like feeling confident in playing.
I think people they've been ready for this album to drop, because I see in the comments of people that have been following you, they remember you when you're doing your gigs out in Liverpool all the way to you're up
Yeah.
now with Daptone Records. So what's that mean to you that you've been building this audience all along to where they remember when you were first coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I appreciate when people say that because I always forget. I have no recollection from that night, that gig. You know, but it's a special feeling that people are still listening. People still into it. People still followed me from those years. And it's always a surprise. And like I know, like all of us musicians like to take our fans along this journey that we do. Some will continue, some will fall out. We all have an artist that we once listened to and stopped listening to because we fell in love with another artist. And it makes me feel appreciated when someone that long ago is still kind of following, and I'll appreciate it 10 years later if they'd be like, I remember when he first put out Come Around and Love Me. It just makes me feel like really appreciative of the people who are listening to the music.
And Come Around and Love Me for the new album, I read online behind the title, it was just you just trying to rhyme words, just putting words together for the
Yeah,
title. Yeah.
yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's just like it's what you do when you write songs. You just try to find rhymes, and try to find nice rhymes, nice, cool things to say. Without thinking too hard.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken about it in the past because the aspirations, this is like years ago, I've heard you in interviews, talk about how hard it is just to win a Grammy. But what was so important was when you said writing and producing an actual song. How complex was it for you to write and produce the songs for this album, the debut here?
Uh, well, to be honest, I wrote it was with the team. You know, I didn't produce the record though. I didn't sit behind the desk and used all the controls. I don't know how to use that stuff. I mean, I can hear it in my head, but I don't know how to manually turn a knob that's the right thing to press. So I can't say I was the producer. The producer was Vincent Chierto and Michael Buckley, but all three of us definitely spoke about the arrangements and spoke about the sounds and all that stuff. So, I mean, I was very, very vocal on the sounds and very vocal on the arrangement too. So it was not like I kind of just sung and, wrote lyrics. I did a lot. So, but it's, it's kind of like, it's just part of the process when you make something. It's like, all right, I wrote the song. Now we have to breathe life into it. We have to record it. And then it's up to you what sounds you want to put on it.
I am curious because you're such an artist in your own lane. Who are some artists that you draw just curiosity wanting to work with in this day and age? Because you listen to the music from today. So who's some artist that you would eventually love to collaborate with down the road?
I mean, I don't really listen to music today. Oh, like I just not by it's not like I'm trying to, I believe that now there are artists of today like Angel Olsen. I like Angel Olsen. I don't really have a desire to write. I just like writing. I mean, I could write with anyone. It doesn't have to be with like writing with someone is a beautiful thing regardless of whoever if they're a songwriter and a musician that enjoys you guys have a similar style, you know. But I try not to build hopes up like, oh, I want to work with so and so, like, because it could end up being a disaster. You never know, on my part or their part. So I try not to give myself high hopes on writing and collabing, but it's always something I look forward to, as much as I look forward to writing with someone back in London. Who's like, my neighbor. It's just writing. I think it's just that because once you're in a room with someone, all the sort of, you know, every the two musicians clout just disappears. You're just two people writing a song, and like all like the namesake and all the stuff, the accolades, all of that means nothing by the time when you're sat down with a couple guitars or a piano. So it's just down to it's down to sort of realizing that like it should be a joy to write with anyone. But I do have, like I love Solange and I love this new artist named Olivia Dean. She's really popular in the UK. Um, Lady Ray, like I mentioned, I like the Sacred Souls. I like, I like a lot of. There's a few new stuff, but to be honest, man, I just listen to Burt Bacharach and Mary Wells and Beach Boys, and that's on repeat. So I can't speak too much about what's going on in the music scene.
Yeah, I don't.
But I'm in the music scene, like I'm part of it. I'm part of that community, so it's like I'm sort of an odd member of the today's music scene, oblivious to what's going on around me.
No, I get it, man, because I'm a big 90s hip hop and 90s R&B guy, and I'm always complaining about, where's the authenticity in artists. So I get it, man, where you're at in your own lane. But when I did listen to your music, because you haven't mentioned it before, if you were to tell a stranger your R&B, your soul R&B, and then you're somewhere in between with the Beach Boys and the Beatles, that's how you clarify yourself. But you know what's funny? When I was listening to your music, because everyone has the Marvin Gaye comparisons, because just with the music sound. But what struck me listening to your album? The Bee Gees. Out of nowhere, I don't know what it was. Just like I was like, there's something like about the Bee Gees here that's coming out when listening to this album. I don't know where that came from, but it did remind me of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I to be honest, I'm not a Bee Gees fan. I've never been into the Bee Gees. It'll just be the high singing. I think that's the thing. Like, you know, when you hear something, you gather information that you already know, and then you use that to what to your knowledge. So but I think the Bee Gees also sung soul music, and it's just an art form. It is just an art form. It's a way of singing. It's a way of writing. It's not like a special power or anything. It's like but like in hip hop, we obviously compare other rappers to other rappers and stuff in terms of style, and or if you're a basketball player, you just but it's all by the book, not by the books, but like yeah. I mean, I don't know how to just answer that. Like it's all we all borrow from everybody. It's all this universal thing that we take bits, and the audience is there to pick out. Oh, that reminds me of that.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. This has got to win a Grammy here. You're gonna get your Grammy, man. I'm telling you, it's
I
coming.
mean,
I
I
know
don't
it
know.
is.
I mean,
I'm
we'll
telling you,
see.
it's gonna happen because you're generation. I mean it, man. You're a generational talent. So
Thank you so much.
it's coming. The movies, everything. I hear you. It's just something about you, man. There's not another artist
Regardless
can
how
do.
it turns out, I'll still be writing and still be making music,
Yeah.
whether
Oh,
it's
you
in my
will be.
bedroom or wherever.
You have a piano behind you. Is this yours or is this at a
No,
venue?
this is actually I'm at a bar, and it's an old busted up piano. As you can see, I'm striking it, and no music's coming
Nothing's
out of
playing. Yeah, it's definitely.
it. So no, this is just some tacky design on the venue. I don't know.
No, it's fire, man. And you got this upcoming performances with the tour. How's the UK treating you? Because now you're in London.
Yeah, it's all right. It's this. I've been there for 9 years. It's a long. It's been there for. I've been there for a long time. So it's home.
Yeah. How often do you come back to the States?
Yearly. A couple times a year. Just depends on what tour and you know depends on my work. But about every year.
Yeah. Daptone Records, I did want to get into your record deal and just the discovery process and you signing with them because they've been applauded for many years now and connecting and finding all the real authentic soul artists out there and keeping the genre alive. How did you two come together and getting this deal done?
Well, just my manager. Like to be honest, just my manager and their team liaison, and I get the call saying Daptone's interested. Hey, you got a gig? This guy from Daptone's coming, And I met them at a gig, but I didn't see. I had no idea that was formulating. When it was happening, I was just told that was happening, and so is gonna come check you out. But yeah, if my manager was here, I'll be like, won't you tell him how that happened?
uh, so man, what's next? You got the tour. What else is going to be the rollout here? Because I feel as though you're going to have a
after the
big plan in
tour is
place.
after the tour, I guess back home and back to rest. A couple gigs here and there, right? Just live.
Live life, man. Yeah, and you could tell this was a big sigh of relief here. The release is out. Sit back and enjoy it. And then I know later on you'll get inspired by some other things that happen around you, and you'll be creating the next album. Do you have like an idea already now that you've been back to the States on what you'd be maybe planning for the next songs, or you're just in the current album mode for Come Around and Love?
Well, I write all the time, so well, it just depends what's being written around the time the album's being recorded. I have no idea what's gonna sound like. We'll find out.
Yeah, we will. Come Around and Love Me. Available on all platforms. Thank you, man. I want to thank you for
Thank you.
coming on the show. Shout out
Thanks
to your
so much.
management. Yeah, of
All right.
course. Anytime, anything else you want to let the audience know before we close out?
No, just listen to the album.
Yeah.
Listen, check my music out. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah. And let them know where they can follow you on Instagram, Twitter, all that social platforms that get you plugged in.
Oh yeah, Jalen N'Gonda. Yeah, on all the social platforms. JalenNgonda.
There you have it, man. Jalen, thanks again, man. Anytime. Thank you to your management again. Congratulations on the release. Big time, man. I'm seeing it right
Thanks
now.
so
That
much.
Grammy's coming.
Appreciate it.
Of
All right.
course. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
All right, you too. Peace
Bye-bye.
out.
Peace out.
Bye.